Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Karlick, and today I'll be talking about standardized tests and its ramifications on traditional literacy. To begin, standardized testing has played a crucial role in our academic lives that we are introduced to as early as fifth grade. These types of assessments are often used to determine factors such as academic success or even our professional futures. Similar to other large-scale tests, standardized testing tests students based on their traditional literacy. Our main argument that I would like to focus on would be that standardized testing inaccurately measures a student's literacy because it disregards factors such as socioeconomic status and test anxiety. Before hopping into our main issues and further detail about them, I wanted to give some definitions of what our main issues are. Traditional literacy is defined as the ability to understand and make meaning of written words. This can be in different forms such as reading a book, reading a passage in classes, or even reading a passage in our standardized tests. Socioeconomic status is defined as a group's social position and their class. This can look like high income, middle income, low income, high class, low class, things such as those. Test anxiety is defined as a form of anxiety that impacts many during large-scale testing or in-class tests. So it can even be something as small as a quiz that is going into the classes and their teachers are providing, or large-scale testing such as standardized testing. Traditional literacy and standardized testing is one of the first issues that I wanted to talk about. Standardized testing is known as to assess a student's comprehension skills through reading and writing. This can be done through reading the section that has a student reading a passage and answering a series of multiple choice questions. When looking at the definition of traditional literacy, we can see how it is measured within standardized testing and how it remains outdated in a world where multiliteracies are being developed, as well as technology continuing to evolve. With the ever-changing forms of literacy, we must update standardized testing to the newer forms of literacy that is being taught within the classrooms. In an article published by Digital Promise, it mentions when we understand literacy to also be about developing adaptive and connective skills in a rapidly changing world, we can see that such decisions to transform assessment are not potentially downplaying literacy, but rather potentially enhancing it. This is an issue that can be easily solved by encouraging the creators of these tests to reach out to teachers and find new ways to update this test with the understanding of the modern literacies that are being taught within our classrooms. So now I would like to move on to socioeconomic status and standardized testing. Students who come from lower income households tend to perform lower than their peers who come from higher income households due to limitations of resources provided for the students. To avoid bias, this might not be the case for every lower income student, but it is crucial to highlight why this is important. Even students in kindergarten show academic differences in low and high income households. Due to these limitations of resources, students do not have the access to the same tools that can help better prepare their literacy and testing skills. One solution to this would be to ask the Department of Education to consider providing more resources to underfunded schools. This could include tablets or laptops provided by the schools that have different resources that can help the students study and prepare for large-scale testing. Without these important resources, it can lead to our next issue, which is test anxiety. Test anxiety and standardized testing really do play a big role together. Large-scale testing can lead many students to develop test anxiety. There are three different symptomatic categories of test anxiety, which are somatic, emotional, and cognitive. Somatic symptoms include nausea, headaches, lightheadedness, and shortness of breath. Emotional symptoms include feeling negative emotions such as fear, anger, disappointment, and helplessness. And then there's cognitive, which is negative self-talk, such as difficulty concentrating because the student is focused on comparing themselves to their peers or talking negatively to themselves. While factors such as unpreparedness can factor into test anxiety, even students who prepare and study way ahead of time are not exempt from experiencing this form of anxiety. To look a little bit more into test anxiety, I wanted to talk about a research that was done by Donald Neville, Philip Faust, and Virginia Dobbs, which proposed their hypothesis that depressed test scores result from the interfering effects of anxiety. And they did this by having 54 children ages 7 through 14 that were tested through vocabulary tests, IQ tests, reading tests, and a test anxiety scale that was made for children. These children were divided into 3 groups, which were high, middle, and low anxiety. And then they were asked to take these tests before being separated into groups and then after the tutoring for 6 weeks. The results show that the middle anxiety group performed better than the other groups on the post-test, and children in anxiety groups that were high got lower scores on their post-test than on their pre-test. After reviewing the results, researchers were able to conclude, in the light of present knowledge, it seems that it would be worthwhile for those concerned with the education of children to be cognizant of the fact that anxiety is a relevant factor in influencing children's performance on tests and probably is a negative influence on general academic performance. One solution that can be previously mentioned would be to update these large-scale tests to modern literacies that are taught within classrooms today. Students who come across these things that they have not been taught can increase anxiety during tests. Another solution can be for teachers to provide anxiety-inducing skills to their students, basically, so this can range from breathing exercises to learning how to better study for these tests. One recommendation and conclusion would be that the argument, to reiterate, is that standardized testing inaccurately measures a student's literacy because it disregards factors such as socioeconomic status and test anxiety. These issues relate to literacy in a few ways. One is that while traditional literacy is still being taught throughout classrooms, it is no longer the only form of literacy being taught. Because of this, the standardized testing should be updated by its creators to ensure student success and understanding. Another way that these issues relate to literacy would be through a better understanding that socioeconomic status can have an impact on a child's learning when not provided with the proper resources. In conclusion, these issues can be solved through updating and providing students with the necessary tools to ensure academic success. It is important to advocate for these things to see an increase in academic success in all areas of income in schools. Thank you so much.